Most people think the greatest manipulator they'll ever face is someone out there. A clever liar, a politician, a charismatic stranger, someone with power, someone with words sharp enough to twist reality. But the truth is much quieter. The most dangerous manipulator doesn't live out there. It lives inside your own head. It whispers in your own voice, and that's why it's so hard to catch. This kind of manipulation doesn't happen loudly. It doesn't come with flashing lights or big betrayals. It slips in between your thoughts like fog seeping through an open window. It begins with something small, a passing doubt, a tiny judgment, a subtle twist of meaning. And then, without ever announcing itself, it becomes the way you see the world. You don't even realize it's happening, because it doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels like you. Your brain is not just a receiver of reality, it's an interpreter. Every second it takes the infinite complexity of the world and reduces it into a story you can live inside. It filters, it edits, it rearranges. It chooses what matters and what disappears. But here's the catch. Your brain isn't objective. It's biased. It's emotional. It's shaped by the things you've feared, the pain you've carried, the experiences that left a mark on you when no one else noticed. So when it interprets the world, it doesn't always give you the truth. It gives you a version of the truth that matches your history. And it does it so convincingly that you never think to question it. You think, this is how things are. But really, it's just how your mind has decided to frame them. This is how the quiet manipulation begins. You don't hear it as a lie, you hear it as certainty, as instinct, as your own voice. It tells you who you are, what's possible, what's safe, what's dangerous. It tells you what people mean, what they feel, how they'll react. It paints invisible walls around your life and then whispers, this is reality. Some of those walls were built a long time ago, when you were too young to know how to question the voice in your head. Maybe someone made you feel unworthy once, and your brain turned that pain into a truth. I'm not enough. Maybe someone left, and your brain learned, people always leave. Maybe you failed once, and your brain decided, I'm not the kind of person who wins. These sentences don't stay as memories. They become architecture. And once built, your thoughts start bending themselves to fit the structure. The real danger is how subtle it is. You don't wake up one day and think, I'm being manipulated by my own mind. It happens slowly. A thought here, a reaction there. Someone smiles at you, but your brain says, they're pretending. Someone offers you a chance, but your brain says, you'll mess it up. You feel fear not because the world is dangerous, but because your brain has told that story too many times to count. The manipulation is quiet, but it is relentless. It doesn't argue with you, it doesn't need to. It shapes what you notice, what you remember, what you expect. It edits your reality before you even get to experience it. It becomes the invisible narrator of your life, always whispering, never pausing. And here's the most unsettling part. The more often a thought repeats, the more real it feels. Not because it is true, but because familiarity is powerful. The brain confuses repetition with truth. So the stories you tell yourself, even the painful ones, gain weight the more you believe them. A lie told enough times in your own head becomes your identity. And once it becomes your identity, breaking free from it feels like tearing away your own skin. Think about it. How many times have you talked yourself out of something before it even began? How many times have you believed that someone else's silence meant rejection? How many times have you accepted your fear as fact? None of that was proven. It was assumed, it was written by a narrator you never hired. Your mind is a storyteller, but it's not always a reliable one. It doesn't just tell stories about the world, it tells stories about you. It manipulates your sense of worth, your sense of safety, your sense of possibility. And the most dangerous stories are the ones that sound like absolute truth. This manipulation doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Your brain learned to do this because it was trying to protect you. Every distorted thought started as a shield. It told you don't get too close, because once closeness hurt. It told you don't try again, because once trying broke your heart. It told you don't trust, because once trust was betrayed. But the shield that protects you also cages you, and the longer it stays, the more invisible it becomes. You start to confuse protection with reality. You start to forget what freedom ever felt like. It's hard to fight something that wears your own face. That's why this kind of manipulation is so powerful. It doesn't need to force you, it only needs to convince you. Once it does, you'll build the cage yourself. You'll reinforce the walls with every doubt, every assumption, every story that begins with I just know. There are moments, quiet moments, when the cracks start to show. A part of you wonders, what if this thought isn't true? A small whisper that doesn't sound like the usual narrator. That's not weakness, that's the sound of reality trying to break through the script. Most people ignore it. They retreat into the comfort of the familiar lie. But some people listen. Those who listen start to notice the patterns, how their brain jumps to conclusions without evidence, how fear dresses itself as certainty, how pain wears the mask of truth. And slowly, the manipulation loses its grip. Because the only thing that makes it powerful is your unawareness. Once you see it, it can no longer hide. But awareness is not a clean, easy process. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's standing in the middle of a storm and realizing the voice screaming in your head, isn't the world, it's you. And in that moment, you face a choice: obey the old story or start writing a new one. Your thoughts will resist. They've had the microphone for a long time. They'll throw everything at you to keep their hold. Doubt, guilt, fear, familiar pain, but none of it is truth. It's just the echo of a voice that learned to speak long before you learned to question it. When you learn to pause, when you learn to step back and ask, is this thought true or just familiar? Everything begins to shift, because the manipulation depends on you not noticing. It depends on automatic obedience. But the moment you notice, even for a second, the illusion begins to crack. The thoughts you thought were iron walls turn out to be paper. They fall apart under the weight of your awareness, and what's left behind isn't silence, it's clarity. It's the quiet, trembling truth beneath the noise.